The history of Nigeria's textile industry from 1960 to the present. In 1960, there was a belief that the key to economic growth was manufacturing. This was before the blessing and the curse of crude oil was discovered in the Niger Delta. At independence and in every successful economy in the world, manufacturing was to be the major component, as in the case of textiles in Nigeria. In the 1960s, foreign investors came from the United Kingdom. This was typical because Nigeria was a former colony of the United Kingdom. During the same period, Chinese investors came to the Kaduna region of Nigeria. These were Chinese people from Hong Kong and saw Nigeria as a golden opportunity to establish their business in the post-colonial era. There were few facts worth noting. Kaduna became the textile capital of Nigeria just after independence. About 1 million workers were employed directly in the textile industry. Several million Nigerians were employed in the textile supply chain as farmers and gene processors and distributors of finished cloth. In the 1970s, Nigeria produced textiles not only for domestic consumption, but for regional export throughout West Africa. At the same time, Nigeria produced 50% of all the West African textiles that were used and was the second largest producer in Africa. Nigeria exported textiles to the United Kingdom at that time. In the 1980s, the textile industry was the largest private employer in Nigeria. The textile industry in Nigeria was the second largest employer after the government. However, the textile industry in Nigeria collapsed for various reasons. First, inept government officials. During the 1980s, the Nigerian naira collapsed after the decline in crude oil prices. The Nigerian government had borrowed money under the assumption that oil prices would continue to rise. At the time, the government was over-leveraged and the debt was equal to the size of the country's GDP. 2. Foreign supply chain versus local suppliers. The textile industry also collapsed because Nigerian companies became extremely profitable and they abandoned local suppliers and neglected to purchase raw materials and equipment from the local industry. The Nigerian thought process, because of low self-esteem, valued inputs, and textile firms tended to purchase overseas materials. Equipment and companies closed, and when the local industry profits began to decline, the owners could not afford the spare parts or new equipment, which made manufacturing less efficient and more costly. 3. Technology. Another reason the textile industry collapsed is because Asian countries such as South Korea and China improved their technology and efficiency in the production and forced American companies to move to Asia. European textiles also moved to Asia, and of course African countries could not compete with these efficiently run firms. Number 4. Economic espionage from China. Lastly, the Nigerian textile industry collapsed because the Chinese stole Nigerian patents and intellectual property. China is accused of stealing designs and cloths. Although history proves otherwise, there is an unsubstantiated theory that the key to Africa's growth is the ability to attract foreign investors. Though there is no data to back up this belief system, African policymakers continue to believe that Africa's growth will come from foreign direct investment. It is evident from the textile story that local manufacturing is more important than foreign investors, yet all the focus seems to be on foreign investment. So let's start local.